afternoon. My name is Rufai, as it was previously said there. I'm a poet, motivational speaker, a youth worker, and just an all-around creative enthusiast, which is, I guess, how I try and brand myself. And an author recently as well, which is, so I'm going to share a few poems from my upcoming book, and just, more importantly, just to kind of congratulate Donnie and Ashley and Jasmine, because when they told me about the project, I was like, I needed to really get involved in whatever it is they were doing, because it was a very positive movement. I'm all about positivity and inspiring change in any way possible. So obviously, in my line of work, I work with teenagers from a lot of disengaged backgrounds, and a lot of them, I've taken different routes, which have ended up having them be referred to me for whatever reasons. And working with young people has really taught me a lot. And so some of that stuff I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Firstly, I was going to start with a short piece which I did, which is part of the project that I'm working on, which is Colors of the Solstice for my book. So when we can get that up, we will share that first. Okay, all right, we'll get back into that one. So I'll probably start the first piece called Low Ceilings. So, we all want to build ourselves up from the ground. Brick by brick, our aspirations stack up, stuck together by seemingly concrete ideas. But as the storm of life blows our way, it all comes crumbling down. Then we go back to the drawing board, architects of our own construction, where our fears limit the grand design. We are so used to dreaming about reaching great heights, but the reality of its achievement is smeared by brick lights. Brick lights on this drive of ours, drive that limits this structure around us, the one we built up to keep us safe, the one with ceilings so low we have to crouch to fit in. Fitting in is what we're used to, while singing along to Biggest Sky's the Limit. How ironic. But most of us grow up around the phrase, sky's the limit. But as we get older, the sky becomes closer to us. Closer and closer, we begin to shrink. We shrink so as not to touch the sky. We run back into the structure we built up, the one we built up to keep us safe, the one so secure it even blocks out our dreams, blocks out everything, even any forecasted rain. We only dream of being the kings and queens of our kingdom, but the reality is the throne can't fit under these low ceilings. So we settle for a recliner with an armrest. Gray hairs and wrinkled skins later, we stayed staring at the same low ceilings, the one that kept us from aiming for the stars. Knock, knock. Guess who? Really? Guess who? You guessing? Okay. It's the renovators, and they had to break down these walls and low ceilings. Are you going to let them in? So that's the first piece, and just elaborate further on the context of why I wrote that piece, because I feel like we live in a world that everything around us kind of limits the ability for us to think outside the box, and limits the ability for us to really have high aspirations, because you start from, take myself for example, coming from like a African background, you go to school, you go to college, you go to university, and you got to get a 9-to-5 job. That's it. Anything outside of that don't make no sense. You know, your parents is like, I don't really see how that can make no money. So if you have dreams that nobody else can conceive, the world around you that I feel like growing up doesn't give you the ability to really widen your ceiling to something that nobody else can perceive. So it just gives you this box that you have to always stay in. And as women and as men, as anybody who's trying to do anything creative and positive in this world, I feel like you constantly have to fight against the ceiling that subconsciously is already there for you, because you've created it so low that we all have to shrink all our dreams so that it can fit in the low ceilings. And from my perspective, I think the first thing to do in terms of having the opportunity and the template for you to be able to excel in any form of business or any form of creative endeavor that we venture into is to actually break down those ceilings and just have a clear roof where there's no end. You know, you can dream or think about anything that's inconceivable by whoever. It's just about then thinking about how you're going to make that a reality, as opposed to actually, that is not feasible. I need to bring it down a little bit, bring it down. Before you know it, everybody's walking like this and crawling, because all our dreams are shrunk so low that we just have to fit it into what we already know. So hopefully we connected to that one a little bit. Is it working? Okay. I was going to show a piece created with just go smile. Unfortunately, it's not for whatever reason. The piece I shot in London, so I walked around lots of bars in London with the camera crew, and I was just really going everywhere trying to make everybody smile, because I think, for me, that is the first thing that really determines how your day is. You wake up in the morning and you step out the house. If you're like me, you really hate people stepping on your shoes or spilling anything on your clothing. So I step out, somebody spills some of my clothes or some of my shoes. I have the choice at that moment to decide how I'm going to let that affect me. So I could decide to be like, oh my goodness, why did you sting me so much? And you get so angry, you get so worked up. Or you could just look at it and think, okay, I just need to buy some wipes and clean these shoes, and I'm not going to let that affect me, and I keep smiling. So that concept, I went around London trying to get everybody to smile. So I was talking to everybody in every walk of life. So I was on a tube, on a train, in a busy Camden Market, and it was so interesting. Something as simple as a smile. I was having a 10-minute conversation with somebody trying to get them to smile. It's like, no, I'm not going to smile today. We see my shop. They parked right in front of my shop. I'm not going to get customers. And he took a good 10 minutes trying to convince me why he wasn't going to smile, when it only takes a second to smile. So it was such an important thing for me to see how much we let the things in our life really affect the way that we actually take our day-to-day life. Because subconsciously, this affects the way our brain works. Because the more you smile, it's like you trick your brain to feel happy because it's connected. But the more times we just actually think, oh, I'm not going to smile because this happens, so I'm going to wait for this to happen so I could smile. It's the reverse, because you smile first and then that starts to happen. And that's what I find. So that piece you can find on YouTube. Just type in Rufai smile. And it just documents me just trying to go around London trying to make people smile. It was really funny. I was talking to a police officer who was supposed to protect us. I was trying to say, can I get a smile? I was like, no, I don't smile. Okay, so how are we going to feel safe in the country or in the city that we live in, or we feel like you're somebody that we can connect to? And it's important how it was so hard to get a lot of people to smile. And conversely, it was so easy to get so many people to smile. They saw me already, and they were like, yes, we're going to smile for you. So it was such an amazing concept. And I really enjoyed filming that piece. I wanted to share that with you guys. Unfortunately, I couldn't, but hopefully I've done it justice by explaining a little bit about it. So how many people here have heroes? Heroes? Heroes. Great. Who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
More than one if you have?
It's a friend's brother.
Friend's brother. Great. Who else did you? Who put up their hand? You. Who's your hero? Maya Angelou. Great. Who else? Anybody else? Great. Why is Maya Angelou a hero?
She's really cool and really creative, and she does her thing.
Great. Rest in peace. Who else? Why is he your hero?
He's had leukemia for about 10 years, and he's been more positive than me for every single one of those days.
Okay, all right, I'm going to get back to that one in a minute, but it's great to see you guys sharing your heroes. So I wrote a piece called Heroes. I'm going to go through that a little bit. Obsessed we are by this notion of a dazzling, shining cape, muscle-bound figure. Always there in the nick of time to scoop us away from danger, to scoop us away from life's unwanted occurrences, to scoop us away from reality, to give us something to put our faith in, because we know they will always come to our rescue. I look out this dusty, tall floor window, multiple stories of flats above and in front of me, clustered with interchanging lives, sharply cut stairs and brisk paces, all with the common thread of survival running through their genes as they struggle to afford the latest. The latest symbols of affluence committing sins to afford some true religions. Oh, the irony. Little boys cutting mean mugs as they post up, schoolgirls with skirts so high their knees get nosebleeds. And young mothers pushing prams of young infants in their Jordans and snapbacks. Oh, what a cool mom, right? I catch a glimpse of a nearby billboard, and it dawned on me. Majority of us only aspire to get as far as what's above us. When we turn on the radio, we catch the same waves. If what we see around us is a representation of what success is supposed to be, the coolest brands, the hottest women with the thinnest waist, the big chains and the flashy cars, they become our cape-affixed heroes. When we turn on the TV screens, it's all we see. When we turn on the radios, we catch the same waves. When we buy the magazines, it edits our subconscious. No wonder why these are the scenes I see from the 12th floor window view. Many are so short-sighted and never look beyond our surroundings, thereby feeding our insatiable search for a hero to place our faith in. Not in the Gandhis, the Mandelas, the Malcolms, the Martins, Angela Davises, Maya Angelou's, or the anonymous lady who raised the king all by herself, or the kid who put himself through school against all odds, or the man who stood firm to raise a kid who wasn't his. No, no. were rather the real heroes, the ones we hear about and see on the screens, with the silk capes and perfectly combed hair, the ones that appear to save you in the nick of time, the ones that end up in the front of the newspapers for their drunken antics, the ones with the badass attitude the ladies want, the divas that manage to draw out a swear word from a nun. Yeah, those ones, they are heroes. So that's a piece I wrote, my heroes, because as I mentioned earlier, I work a lot with young people. And I might go through the same process, ask them who's their hero. Somebody's like, oh, Justin Bieber. Another person's like, oh, Miley Cyrus. You hear all these things, which is great. You know, that's what they see on an everyday basis, and that's what they aspire to. And it's interesting for me, because what I found is there was a conscious shift in what I used to aspire to be like. Because when I was much younger, the same things with my heroes. Those people, if you see on you flip the paper and you think, oh, this person's been arrested today for drink driving or whatever, and you think, oh, that's my hero, it's so cool. And then subconsciously, I think that's the cool thing to do. But then I started to realize, actually, I want to start doing certain things in my life. And I look at certain people, comment. As a poet that I really love, Maya Angelou, somebody I really studied a lot of her work. Gandhi, Gil Scott-Heron. So I started to change who I was inspired by. And subconsciously, there was a shift in who I was. Because what I started to see is, I started to look at who they were inspired by, so I started to chase the tree further back. So I watched documentaries about Maya Angelou talk about what got her into poetry, what got her into expression. And I started thinking about that person that she was inspired by. And I followed the chain further back. I started looking about the person that person was inspired by. Same. Nas is one of my favorite authors and poets. I would look at who he was inspired by. I follow that back and think of why I felt connected to those people, because subconsciously the people who we are highlighting as our idols, there's something that we connect to about those people. And if we chase those things down and look at who they were connected to, then we start to actually form a family tree, which is not like your normal family tree, because you choose this. You don't choose your family. God knows we don't choose our family, right? But this one, you actually get to really choose it, because you follow back all the people you're inspired by, and the people they're inspired by. You build a web of positivity, and that really continues. Because if you step into my room, you see pictures of these people. It seems like a weird, like, ghosty feel. But for me, I wake up in the morning and I think, oh, Maya Angelou, yes, okay. I'm going to stay positive today. I'm going to remember some of the poems that she wrote, and then I look back again, I look at other pictures of certain people, just subconsciously. Those are the things I wake up to in the morning, and it just keeps me going, keeps me positive, it keeps me influenced, it keeps me inspired. So I would advise that, I would hope that, you know, as we get further into anything that we're doing, we look at the people that we're inspired in that line of work, and think of why we're inspired by them, and think about people they're inspired by, and start to follow that chain backwards. And hopefully that will open a whole web of just kind of learning, because I think a lot of us have incredible degrees and stuff like that, and going to school versus education is a huge thing. So we start to educate ourselves about the people that we're inspired by in the field of work that we want to get into, and we start to learn the things that makes us inspired about them. So hopefully that kind of resonated with you guys as well. I'm going to share another piece as well. This piece is called That Thing You Have the World Needs. Many of us look at this world we exist in from a distance, as though each curve on the atlas is as abstract a concept as it seems, as though we are separated as the lines suggest, or we are as inconsequential to the grand picture, to its design, to its grand existence as we feel. Hence the beautiful quirks each of us we're done with takes a back seat. It takes a back seat on this drive to discover you, on this drive to discover me. We navigate through these jungles of life, taught to conceal it, taught to be ashamed of the beauty of difference, the majestic beauty of weirdness we all adorn with. We begin to bury deep within our confines, the confines of our own lonely moments, imagining what it feels like, if only you could step out onto that tube platform and show the world how you can make them marvel on sight of it. What is it? It's everything and anything you have that he doesn't. It's anything that differentiates you from her. It's that thing that's brought to life when you unplug it. When you unplug it from the power of the mind that holds it back. It's that thing that functions when it's connected to the juice in your soul. It's that thing the world needs. Many of us marvel at others with that thing, willing to pay anything to witness him do that thing, often comparing his thing against yours. As we come to learn, it's what you do with it that always matters. It's never the enormity of what your thing is. The world is smaller than the numerous lines you feel on a braille atlas. If only you could measure it by that piece of you, the one you allowed to uninhibitedly venture out to that stranger on the bus, the one who felt moved by it and so happened to capture it on camera, enriched their eyes with the beauties and weirdness you choose to share. And she spoke of it to her tribe in the shanty towns of Indonesia, therefore unlocking a feeling of hope and belief in their hearts. Even if just for that one moment, the world just got smaller. Smaller because you found a connection that brought those two distant worlds together, simply by unleashing that thing. No thing is too rare to unleash. If it was placed within you to nurture, then you were made to build a structure. One that gave it ventilation to breathe, and one that gave the world access to its beauties. One that gave it levels to freely roam, and most importantly, one that appreciated with time, as it was built on solid foundations. Never hide that thing that you have, because the world needs it. More importantly, you need it. This piece I wrote kind of joint to the previous pieces I've talked about in terms of low ceilings and stuff. You get young people and just people in the world. I think this is really something that really highlighted to me that everybody in here is different. For whatever reason that is, we are all different. Everything about us, the way we think, the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we feel is so different. And that was done intentionally. But we live in a world that actually tries to group everybody because that's when it makes sense. Because everybody has to be in a box somewhere. If you're not in a box, then you're weird. You know, I've heard that so many times. You know, you come in somewhere and I'm like, okay, so you take this box, you take this box. What box do you take? I'm not quite sure. You need to find a box that don't make no sense. There's no box for you. And that's the world that we live in. But I come to antagonize that status quo. That you should be able and happy to be able to find whatever is in you that's different and hold on to that difference and think, yes, I laugh like this and I like that. That's something that's different about me. Like, I work with young people after about 10, 15 minutes. The first thing they say is, well, he's got the weirdest laugh ever. And I love that about me. I have like the craziest laugh. If you hear it, you hear it at some point. But that's something that when I was going through school as a young kid, I used to get teased for so many different things. But getting older, I realized these things are what make me an individual, what makes me so unique. And so that's that thing about you that makes you different. Like, I'm one of the people that, growing up, I never was scared to talk to anybody for whatever reason. A lot of people think that's weird, yo, that's really weird, man. You just want to sit down and just listen to everybody and stop trying to talk to everybody. But then when I realized that actually that's one thing about me that I need to hone and just really take charge of that and just be able to express myself. And that's one thing I find that really helps me with being a poet and a motivational speaker, because I realized that that's a power that I have, that I could hone and just be different and go and talk to whoever, any stranger at any point in time. And there's so many different things about you that you need to highlight those things. No matter how weird or whatever, anybody's going to laugh about that. That's it. They'll only laugh. But that makes you different. And that makes you on the path towards doing something amazing. You may not know it, but I know it. And hopefully soon you start to realize that by giving that thing the room to really breathe and highlight that thing about yourself, because the world really needs that thing. And more importantly, you need it. Okay. I'm going to move to another piece. And this one is called Creators versus Consumers. Okay. To create is for the marvel of one's mind to come into tangible existence. To reach into the ethereal world and bring back evidence of life. To simply breathe its life into a place called imagination. To conduct the marriage between ideas and actions. To truly gamble and place the bets in a better world. To create is to take risks. The world yearns for new creations, but this same world discourages the risk takers. Or the irony. I guess Steve Jobs never took many bites at the apple of success. When Michael Jackson was born in the sky to enable his moonwalk. Or Salvador Dali never brushed against obstacles to create masterpieces. Of course they did. They all felt burdened by their insatiable desires to take risks, to never take no for an answer, to continually create till they brought joy to the world. As I walk past these congested streets where dreams fly, like atoms high of kinetic energy, they all bump into each other, trading stories of entrapped desires. As we walk in and out of numerous shops with shopping bags, consuming away, keeping the cash desks ringing. We are encouraged by the multiple bargain signs and the momentary comforts of not feeling left out. I too can be a consumer like you. We mutter under our breaths as we slowly but surely raise an axe to our creative instincts, killing it softly as we dance to the future soundtrack. R.I.P. to the ideas that could and maybe change the world, because we could just pay millions for it when someone else creates it, right? After being barraged for not giving up on his fruitless efforts, someone else takes the risk that finally pays off. After being laughed at for sticking to her idea for 10 years, the victory of innovation tastes sweet. We seek a world of change, a world where someone comes and sprinkles magical dust on us all. And suddenly we live a smooth, running life of seamless perfection. Sorry to burst that bubble. You and I are that someone. And the sooner we realize this, the sooner the world will witness great innovations. The sooner the world will witness the new Imhoteps. The sooner the world will become a better place to live as we slowly bring progressive change to it. Oh, what a world it would be when there is more creators and less consumers. This piece, for me, was an internal battle. Because when I was writing it, I was feeling daggers hitting me. Just because, you know, I want to go into a shop and want to buy this. We're going to Christmas. I got a long list. You know, I'm going to go in and buy things for people, buy things and buy this and buy that. And it just further highlighted to me how subconsciously deep it was. That we just programmed to continually consume. And that person, that part of our brain that just thinks, oh, maybe I could create it better than that. Sometimes I walk in a Zara and I think that's a nice jumper. And I know that jumper would be nicer. And I could really cut it like this and cut it like that. And that was the thought that I used to ignore for a long time until I decided, actually, why don't you start your own brand? That is the thought of me thinking, okay, I could be a creator. Sometimes I listen to songs and I think, man, that song was dope. But I would have done this to it. And I think, oh, why don't you start creating music? Or I think about listening to the speaker, I think, oh, he's so passionate, he's so this. But actually, at that point in this talk, I could have decided to go this way. I thought, why don't I start doing talk to myself? And that's that thought, because we are programmed to continually just consume and just take, because it's easiest. And it makes us cool, because we all go to the shop together. Who's that friend that wants to go into a shop and says, I'm not going to buy anything, I'll just wait and make it myself? And they think, okay, you just don't got no money. So, that kind of thing I had to deal with when I was growing up as a kid and growing up, because everything around us, as I said, just antagonizes that thought of thinking, maybe I could do it myself, maybe I could go left when everybody's going right. And for me, it's much easier to be a consumer than to be a creator. But all the greatest people in the world are creators. That's why we adore them. I mentioned some of the people who are my idols, and that Steve Jobs. He could have just continually bought Microsoft. Microsoft equipment, he just kept on buying things that was already done by Bill Gates and whoever else that was doing something, which was perfectly fine. But he decided, no, I actually try and do something else. To follow his story, nobody believed in him. He got kicked off where he was working because nobody believed in him. He went to his garage and started putting things together. And now Apple's like one of the most sought after devices in the world. Follow on from that to somebody else who, another idol of mine, if I pick it out, personally, Michael Jackson, I pick out. Michael Jackson, from my personal perspective, somebody who I idolize because he always did things left when everybody did right. There was already James Brown. He danced like this. Well, Michael Jackson said, I'll take it to another round. I'll take it there. He was the first black entertainer to get played on MTV, not because he thought, oh, I'll just stay on the channels that play black music anyway. But he decided to take it out somewhere else. Made one of the greatest albums of all time because he decided to go left when everybody was going right. And for me, those are the things that I really take out. And I think it's important for us to really try and slowly unplug ourselves from that consumer mindset, because it's not easy. Heaven knows after this, I'm probably going to go on a shopping spree somewhere and continually consume. But continue to remind yourself that out of all these things that I consume, how many of these things can I actually start to create myself? Or how can I actually start thinking about how I can begin to open another lane? As small skill as it is, you know, start doing it. I was on Instagram the other day, and there was this lady who, she customizes, I think, trainers that already bought from other places. And that is an idea. However original that is, that's something that she decided to start doing. And I used to look at her comments and people was like, oh, that's not really original, that's not this, that's not that. Last I heard, she got bought by, I think, Converse, because she kept on doing this and she was putting a lot of innovative styles to it. And then Converse actually reached out to her and said, actually, we want to buy your idea of customizing some of our pieces, and they did a collaboration. And that's a powerful thought. And if she had listened to what a lot of other people were saying about, oh, that's not really that original, she probably would have never gotten here. And that's one thing I just want to say as well about originality. That concept of originality is something I've always found very interesting. And I'm going to quote one of my favorite artists, Nas, says, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never how you do it. It's never what you do, it's how it's done." That's exactly what I really took that and I thought, there's no idea that's original. It's just about how you decide to take it and put your own element, put your own stamp to it and make it original, because that really blinds us all. And you do something, everybody's like, oh, it's already been done. And that just really, it just disappoints your heart and your soul, because you pick something up and you think, oh, I got this idea, I want to do this. Somebody's like, someone's already done that. But then it's about thinking, well, even if they've done that, how can I put my own stamp on it and make it that next thing? So hopefully that resonates with us a little bit. And I'm going to share my last piece. Okay. All right, this last piece is it's the title of my whole presentation. It's called Be Beautiful. The beauty in being you is beyond the confines of aesthetic pleasures. It's the radiance that shines through, even when your hair is out of place. When a few and once is it to take refuge on your face. When your gut is over-familiarized with festive indulgences. You know that's going to happen, right? And your stubble is overgrown. Beyond what the magazine's brand is beautiful. Beyond the chiseled size zero frame that this new world yearns for. Beyond the Greek godlike physique and the men's health aspirations. Deeper than that, the real you. The beauty that lies in being non-conformist. The beauty that lies in you being outstanding within the in crowd. The beauty in being expressive in a suppressive world. The beauty in truly being that inhibits itself. You are liberated to be. Like an infant who decides to crawl to a stranger and give him a kiss, or a blind man who sings on a crowded London street, there's a real beauty that lies deep within you. And the secret to unleashing it is simply beyond the reflection in the mirror, beyond the validation of the fellow on a night out, beyond the accolades of your exploits on a boys' weekend, beyond the multiple likes on Instagram. Take off those filters and give the world your real self. Be you. Be yourself. Be beautiful. And beyond all, be beautiful. So that piece, hopefully, I believe, summarized everything I kind of talked about today. Because if you don't take anything out of all the gibberish that I said, it's the fact that the only thing you should take out of this is, I just want everybody to be the best version of themselves. And that's all this piece is about. And whatever kind of line of work that you guys are getting into, or you guys are already into, whatever creative businesses you guys have embarked on, it's just to be the best version of yourself as there is. Don't be the best version of somebody else, because that has already been done. Is whatever it is about you that's unique, that's different, that is weird, as it were. I want you to tap into that and really push that. No matter who doesn't believe in you, as long as you believe in yourself, that's all that should matter. As cliched and as easy as a statement that could sound like, but all the greatest people in the world, that's exactly what they took. They only believed in themselves. Along the way, a lot of people, they picked up a lot of fans along the way when they started to, when people started to realize, actually, this person actually has got a bright future. After they've already taken a lot of hits along the way, that's when everybody started to jump on the wagon. So I want you to just take whatever it is that you have, that you believe in, no matter how silly that it might be to somebody else. You just take that and just keep going with it. Just thinking about better ways to make that more creative, better ways to make that more innovative, and smile while doing it. No matter how bad it might seem, just keep smiling. And it's a subconscious trait, because the more smiles you do actually put on your face, the more smiles your mind gets. And the more time your mind and your soul starts to smile, the more open you are to creativity. Because for me, I love traveling. And on travels, a lot of things happen. I get my camera stolen. I get this happen. But I just remember the smile. I just think, what is it? It's only a material possession. It's a 700-pound camera, but it's still a material possession. And I just keep smiling, and I see and I experience a feeling that inspires a poem. And that to me, I can't buy that. Because at that moment, when my camera got stolen, I could have decided to be angry, and I missed an opportunity to sit with some old man that told me stories that really inspired my mind when I wrote. I could have just been so angry and thought, oh man, I want to go back from Japan. I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But I just chose to smile. And that opens your mind up and you start to see different things in different ways. So I hope that with the combination of poems that I shared with you guys, I've kind of sowed a tiny bit of seed of positivity and the strength to break out the box and hopefully then begin to make amazing and great innovations in any kind of line of work that you guys are into. So all the pieces I shared are from a book which is coming out. It's from my book called The Colors of the Soul, and it's a photography, poetry, art book, which is not the most original idea, but I took poetry, I mixed it with photography, and I put a lot of art in it. So I'm trying to give the words that I write, I'm trying to give them life visually, as well as put a lot of art, because art, photography, and poetry are all one thing. It's just different ways of expressing. So I just married everything together, and hopefully I create a incredibly visually orgasmic piece for you guys, which will be available for purchase by February next year. So thank you very much for listening, and hope the rest of the speakers really continually inspire you guys for the rest of the